Hello friends, welcome to .NETAwesome.com. Today we will learn about TypeScript. We will see what is TypeScript, why we should learn TypeScript, how we can write code in TypeScript and more. TypeScript is an extension, a superset of the JavaScript language. It allows us to write code in object-oriented design approach, which makes possible writing JavaScript code faster and error-free with the help of type system provided in the TypeScript. Do we really need to learn TypeScript? Technically, you do not need to learn TypeScript, and as at the end it's compiled into JavaScript code, we can directly write JavaScript code, right? But it's primarily provide optional static typing, classes and interfaces which make it possible to write code which is error free and easier to organize the code base for very large application. Also, I would like to mention one thing here is Angular 2 application is also written in TypeScript, which is very popular client-side framework nowadays. So we developers should learn this language. It specially helps us to write JavaScript code who are coming from strongly typed language like C# or Java, as it follows object-oriented design pattern. Let's start understanding TypeScript practically. So first of all, we will set up TypeScript development environment. If you have Visual Studio 2013 or 2015 already installed, then TypeScript will already be available and you can use Visual Studio IDE for this tutorial. But here I will use VS Code editor because of it is cross-platform and you can use anywhere. If you use Linux, Mac OS, Windows, this editor you can use and can be extended with plugins to our needs. Also, front-end developers, those are working on client-side languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Angular, must not want to install Visual Studio IDE because it comes with full features and size is huge. So let's start how we can set up our TypeScript development environment. First of all, I need to go to install Node.js in our system, which is required for install TypeScript. So what I will do, I will open my browser and here I will go to nodejs.org. Okay, so from here we can download Node.js on our system according to your operating system. So I have Windows, so I will download this one, Windows installer. Okay, as I have already installed Node.js in my system, you can see here the Node.js is already installed, so it's showing Node.js command prompt here. So if you don't have already installed, you can download from here and install on your system. Okay, after that we will open Node.js command prompt for installing TypeScript. So go to start. After installed Node.js, you can see this option here in your program list, so click here to open this one. You can also check after installed. So node -v, that means this v6.10.0 is installed. So now what I will do, I will write one command here for install TypeScript on our system. So npm install -g means global and then TypeScript and click enter. So it will start installing TypeScript on my system. It will take few seconds, I think. Let's see. So it started installing, it's done, and it's also showing the version is 2.3.2 is already installed. So this is done. Now if you want to work with VS Code editor, then you can download it from here, code.vs Visual Studio .com. So from here you can download this editor and install on your machine. If you have Windows, so you can download Windows, and other version is also available here. Okay, so after installed, we will open VS Code editor. I have already opened here. This is my VS Code editor, you can see. So we have done development environment for start TypeScript. Let's open VS Code editor and create a sample HTML and a TypeScript file for learn TypeScript step by step. Okay, so first of all we need to open one folder here. Inside this folder we will create HTML and TypeScript file. So click here to open folder. Here we will create one empty folder, type script tutorial. Okay, and then I will select this folder, and so this folder is opened here. I think the theme is not too good here for C. We can change theme. Control C P, theme, color theme. So I think this one is perfect. Okay, so let's create a TypeScript file. So this one, our first TypeScript file is I will rename it, okay, data types.ts. .ts is extension for TypeScript. Okay, so this file is created. Now here what we will do, first of all we will see a little about TypeScript supported types. TypeScript allow us to declare variables with a specific data type, which help us to avoid errors. It support data types like string, number, boolean, etc. So let's create one example here. We know that JavaScript does not support data types. Whatever we can do is just declare one variable, then I need to define one variable name, and if I assign 0, that means this I is numeric type, and if I define any string here, that means I is string type. Now let's see how we can declare variable of a specific data type in TypeScript and how it's help us to write error-free code. So before start writing TypeScript code, I will write a JavaScript function for add two values, and then we will type some same function in TypeScript for understand how TypeScript type system help us to write error-free code. Okay, we know that the JavaScript code is also valid here in the TypeScript file because TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. So let's create this function here in the JavaScript code. JavaScript function, I will write one function here for add two values, value 1, value 2, and then here I will return value 1 plus value 2. This is very simple JavaScript function, and then I will write alert add. Now if I pass 2 and 5, then results should be 7. So how we can use this file and how we can compile it? So let's create one HTML file here for show this result, index.html. okay, sorry, title, trivial, script, SRC. We cannot directly add this TypeScript file reference here in the browser because browser cannot understand this TypeScript file. We need to compile this TypeScript file, and after compiling it we will get back one JS file, and this JS file we need to add a reference here in the browser. So how we can compile this one? In the VS Code editor you can see there is integrated terminal in the view menu. So I will open this one. As we have already installed TypeScript in our system, so we can use TypeScript compiler. So type tsc, this is the command for compile TypeScript file, tsc, then space, then we need to define the file path. So data types.ts is our file, as it is running from the same directory. We did not provide the full path here. We can just write this file name, and if I click enter, so you can see one JavaScript file is generated here, the same after compiling it, because it is the JavaScript code, so it will be the same. So what I can add here, I will add data types dot js. Okay, so if I run this index.html the browser, we should get one alert of result 7. Okay, so let's see what happened. Just right click it and copy path, and we can open here. So you can see the result is 7. Now what if we change this one to any string value? Okay, suppose I'm providing here my name. Okay, again I need to compile this one for update this code in this JS file. Or we can do one more thing. If we run this in watch mode using this command tsc space, then file name, then space, then -w, this will run this file in the watch mode. So whenever we will change here anything, and if I hit the save button, it will automatically compile and update the JS file. Okay, so run this again. So compiled successfully. Then if I refresh this web page, so what should show? It's showing to Sora. This should not be done. This is error, right? We are adding two value here. So how we can resolve using TypeScript? Let's see. Now I'm going to remove this function here. See, then I will write one TypeScript function with the help of TypeScript data types. So let's see, function add and val1, okay, and then using colon we can define the data type dr number. Okay, so this is defined data type. It will only accept the numeric type now. And again val2, what I will do, number. So this is my new function. I'll return val1 plus val2. Now if I call this function from here, alert, I'm passing this to, okay, sorry, add, then I'm going to pass, it's showing me we need to provide well numeric type. So if I provide 2 and then comma, and if I provide 5, so it's, so we can get result 7. Let's see. Okay, I've compiled 7. Now if I change this 5 to any string value, what will happen? You see, when I have just press save button, it's giving me one error message here. Argument of type Saurav is not assignable to parameter of type numeric number. So this is giving error, it's not compiled the file. That means this TypeScript compiler tells us that we have written invalid code. So using this type system, we can write valid code only. Okay, so this TypeScript help us to write error-free code in this way. So I'm going to delete this code, and here I'm just going to show you quickly how we can define variables with data types, the different data types that supports TypeScript. Okay, so here suppose I'm going to declare one variable which is boolean type. So here I can just write var, then variable name, then colon, then boolean. So in this way define boolean type. If I want to define string type, so then variable name string. Okay, so and define numeric type var salary number first to 4 5. Okay, we can also define array type, suppose number array. This theme color is not very well, right? It's not showing us properly. Let me change this theme color. Control Shift P. You can also do this if you want. Theme color. So let me change this to I think this is better, right? Now this code is visible. Okay, so in this way 1 2 3 4. So this is done. This way we can declare variable. Here you can see I have declared boolean type, string type, numeric type, and also the number type. And it's, if I define this value is a string, so it will give us error, this one. So the compiler is working perfectly fine. And whenever you will hit save button, it will show here this file is compiled, because we have run this TSC compiler for this file in watch mode, so it would automatically compile the file. Now we will see interface in TypeScript. So the question is, what is the interface? Why and when we will use this? An interface is a set of properties and or methods that an entity should conform to. To understand interfaces, let me start with a simple example to make it easier to grab the concept, and also how it helps us to write error-free code. Suppose we have to create a function for showing user details in JavaScript. Let's create another TypeScript file here. Interface.ts ex underscore interface.ts. okay, ex extends for example. So let me create one function here for show user details. So function, what I will do, show user, then here I will pass one object user, and then here I will alert with user dot first name, okay, and plus age comma age is user dot age. Okay, so suppose from here I call this function, let me create one object here of this user equals to first name, okay, sorry, sort of age equal to 28. Okay, so this is my object, and now if I call this function, so user with this object user, so let me see what happened. But before run this again, I will, okay, let me comment this one. This one is not required because we have already finished this data types. Okay, so control KC, and here script SSC with, here again we need to define ex underscore interface dot js. This js file is not generated till now, so I will open this one, and again I will go to terminal for compile this file, tsc ex underscore interface dot ts with watch mode, because it will run in watch mode. Whenever I will update this file, it automatically will compile and generate the JavaScript file. So let me compile this one again. So it's generated. Now if I run this index.html, it should show me this message, first name, and so the age, this one, right? Let's see, let's open this copy path. So you can see the name and age is showing. Now if I change this one, if I remove this one, and let's see now what it's showing. You can see the name is Saurabh but age is undefined. So it should not write code like this, right? But it's not giving us any warning message at all. What if we get a error message at compile time? We can resolve the issue, right? If we get this message in the compile time, we can resolve this issue. That's the benefit of using TypeScript. So let's start changing this code to TypeScript with the help of interface. So what I will do, first of all, I will create one interface here in the TypeScript. So for creating interface, the keyword is interface. Then I need to provide the name of the interface, so it's I person. Okay, then I will do this. Here I will write first name, type of string, last name, type of string, age, type of number, So here we have defined one interface. Now if I mark this one as I%type, then you can see here it's giving one error that the I% property last name is missing in the type. So we cannot pass without defining all the properties, because here all the properties are mandatory. Okay, so what we can do here, we can define I% here, then we can see we will get option for defining last name. It's also saying the error, so we need to define last name. Also it's still giving error because of age is not defined till now, so age is 28. So now you can see it's not giving any error message, and whenever we will call this method, we need to pass one entity here which is implemented the I% interface. So as I have just said, an interface is a set of properties or methods that an entity conform to. So that means whenever I will pass any object here in this method, it should conform this I% interface. So that's way we can remove the error what we have just got when we define this function in a JavaScript and run. So this is the beauty of TypeScript. Okay, in this way we can resolve this issue, so it helps us to write error-free code. Let's check in browser. So if I refresh, you can see now it's showing message properly. Now if I try to remove this one, so and the compiler will give us one error message, which you can see here the age is missing. So we cannot remove mandatory fields, and we must provide the mandatory fields value here. The object I need to pass in this method. TypeScript provide us one option to declare optional variable also. Let's create an optional property here in this interface. I will add one property, contact us, and we'll make this one optional with the help of question mark. You can see this question mark. This way we can define optional property. You can see this question mark. This question mark means that this property is non-mandatory property. You can see I have added one property here in this interface, but not provided any value here. When I use this interface to create this object, still the compiler is not giving any error message because of this property which I have not added here. The contact us is not mandatory property. That's the reason it's not giving any error message. Here in this example, I have shown you how to create an object implementing interface. Later I will show you how to implement interface in a class. Okay? Let's start with one of the most important features in TypeScript is class. If you are coming from strongly typed language like C# or Java, you are probably aware of the benefit of using classes. Classes makes it easy to group related variables and functions into a container, which help us to reuse code and easy to organize the code base for very large application. Let's create a class and reuse it. So I will close this one, and here I will create another TypeScript file for example class ex_class.ts. This is my new file where I will create one class. For creating class in TypeScript, we have to use class keyword, and then we have to provide the class name. Let's see, class, and then we have to provide the class name and then curly brackets. So here it's defined the class, and here we can also define properties. So string, last name, string, contact number, string type. Okay, and also we can define methods. So here I'm going to create one method, show user details. What I will do here, I will show an alert box for showing user details. So first of all, let me create one variable here, message with type string, and here I will add backticks. Let me explain this one. First let me create template name is equal to $, this dot first name space $, this dot last name, okay, comma, contact number, $, this dot contact number. So you can see here I have used backticks. So this what the meaning of this backticks. This is called template string in TypeScript, which can span multiple lines and have embedded expressions. So you can see here this is a string template in TypeScript. Now what I will do, alert this message. Okay, so this class is done. You can see here I have not provided any access modifier here. I will explain what is access modifier. By default all are public. Just remember this one for now. If we not provide any access modifier, that means it's public, because public is the default access modifier in the TypeScript. So if I define public or if I not define anything, that means both are same. All are by default public access modifier. So later we will see in details about access modifier. So this way we can create one class, and if I want to create one object using this class, what I will do, I will add one variable. Let me explain. Me as user is equal to new user. Okay, and now we can user dot first name equals to Saurav, me as user dot last name equals to as user dot contact number equals to, okay. So, and now we will use this dot show user details. Then we should get this as a alert box. Let's run this example in the browser and see what happened. Okay, so before run, again I need to compile this code and have to generate the JS code from this TypeScript. Okay, actually we don't need to compile each and every TypeScript file individually for transpiling TypeScript into JavaScript when we are working in VS Code editor. We can set up the task configuration in VS Code editor, using which we can compile all the TypeScript files at one go. So let's set up the task configuration. For this we have to add TypeScript configuration file in our project first. So let's create one new file, and the file name should be ts config dot JSON. Okay, so when I will add this one, so what I will do here, I will add the TypeScript configuration options here. If you press Ctrl and space together, so you will get all the options in this VS Code editor. So we have to define compiler options. Here we have to add target should be ES5. Then we have to define module CommonJS, and then if you want source map true, so it will generate the source map file as well. Okay, so this is done, and now we have to add the task configuration. So for add task configuration in VS Code editor, press Ctrl Shift and P. It will show us the command palette from where we can this configure task runner, this option. When I will click this one, it will show another options for select. From here I will select tsconfig.json, this one. So you can see it's automatically generated one new file here in this .vs code folder, which is tasks.json. That means it created one task for compile all the TypeScript file, and this is the command. So now if I save this one and let me close this one, now you can see this ex_class.ts file has not transfiled version, so there is not JavaScript file related for this. Now if I press Ctrl Shift P and write the task, you can see there is an option run build tasks. As we have just defined only one task, we can select this option. Whenever I will select this option, it will automatically compile all the TypeScript file into JavaScript file. Okay, so let's select this one. So you can see now all the file has been compiled and generated the JavaScript file. Okay, so this is my ex_classes.js, and as we have make this source map option true, it's also generated the map file for this TypeScript file. Okay, so this way we can convert all the TypeScript into JavaScript file. So this is done. Now let's go back to our class example. So now I need to run this in browser for see if everything is working fine or not. So let's open the index.html. Here we have already defined ex_class.js. Now I will run this, copy the path, and I will open this in browser for check everything is working fine or not. So I will paste it here and go. Now you can see name, Saurabh Mandal, contact number, this one is showing. Okay, that means everything is working perfectly fine. Now we will see constructor. What is class constructor? So the question is, what is constructor? Constructor is a special function of a class which is called when we create an object of that class. Why and when this is required? If we remove this 3 line from here, if I make this commented line, okay, and now if I try to run this example, let me compile again. You can directly compile all the TypeScript again with the key Control Shift and B. So it will again compile. When I will press Control Shift and B together, you can see this option here. That means it's compiling, and if everything is fine, if there is no error, so it will compile successful, then we can run this again in the browser. So let's see what happened. Now if I refresh the browser, you can see all are showing undefined, undefined, undefined. Okay, this is because of we have not provided any value here, but we try to access from here this function. Actually this function should not be called before assigning those values here, right? So this is one small mistake we have done, and still it's not giving us any warning or error message because there is no error in the code. So it will be nice if we can set the variable value when we will create object of the class. We can do this with the help of constructor. So let's see how we can do. For add constructor in the class, we need to add constructor method. So this is the class constructor, and this is the special methods we'll call when we will create one object. So let's create this constructor with the parameter first name should be string type, last name string type, and contact number is also string type. And what I can do here, this dot first name equals to first name, this dot last name equals to last name, this dot contact number equals to contact number. So this way we can resolve the issue. Now you can see here it's giving one error because we need to pass this parameter. Without passing this parameter we cannot create any object. So here I can pass first name, last name, and then we have to provide contact number. So in this way we can resolve this issue. Now if I again press Ctrl Shift V for compiling all this TypeScript file, and now if I refresh the browser, now it's showing the correct message, right? Okay, so this way we can get benefit of assigning values using constructor. Okay, as I have told you that I will show you how we can reuse code. Let's start with inheritance, which is another important features of TypeScript which enable us to reuse code. In object-oriented programming, inheritance enable new object to take on the properties of existing objects. A class that is used as the basis for inheritance is called a superclass or base class. A class that inherits from a superclass is called a subclass or derived class. A derived class inherits visible properties and methods from its parents or superclass while adding additional properties and methods of its own. Let's see in practically. Okay, here we have already created one class user, so I will reuse this class in another class. So let's create another class. Okay, here I will create another class. So here I have created another TypeScript class ex_inheritance.ts file. So here I will create another class which is employee. Okay, so this is our employee class. Then in the employee class we should have following properties: first name of the employee, last name of the employee, contact number, designation, Okay, joining date. Okay, now if you remember in the previous class where we have created user class, first name, last name, contact number, all are already defined, and here again we have defined these properties here in this employee class. Can we inherit those properties from user class to employee class? Yes, we can do with the help of inheritance. So let's remove these properties from here, and with the help of extend keywords we will add here user. So this means we have extend user class here in this employee class. So now we can access all the properties which is defined in the user class here in this inherited class. So this is child class we can say, and this is the parent or super class. So now if we define one constructor here, you can see here it's showing one error message this, and it's showing that constructor for derived class must contain a super call. So we must have to define the super call here, and this super means it will execute user class constructor method, this one. So that's why it's asking for provide the first name, last name and contact number. This is required. So what I will do here, I will do first name parameter, this parameter I will add last name parameter, contact number, designation, string, and joining date. Sorry, joining date type of string. So now we can call this one first name. Now we have to first last name and contact number. Okay, and now we can also define these two value with the help of this dot designation equal to designation, this dot joining date is equal to joining date. So this is done. One thing you should notice here in this in the IntelliSense, when I'm typing this dot, it's showing all the properties from user class as well as all the properties from this employee class. So it's that means it's successfully extended user class here in the employee class. Okay, so now if I add one method here for show employee details, we can also define return type using this colon and void, because it's not returning any value from here. So let message of type string equals to again I'm using backticks here for string template. So name, employee name is this dot first name space this dot last name with designation, this dot designation. So this is the method. Now I will add alert message. So this way we can extend the class. Let me create one object. Me software developer, new employee, and here I need to provide these properties. Number, then designation, software developer, and now joining date, first May 2010. Okay, so this way we can create one object, and let me call this function for showing employee details. Okay, so this way we can call this method, and let me again compile all the files. So what I can do, Control C P, task, so run task. Now you can see task TSC. If I run this one, you can see it's compiling. So it's compiled successfully. Let me see if it's created one JavaScript file in inheritance. Yes, it's created ex_inheritance.js. So this is created, right? Now let's see in action. If I run this code, before doing anything, let me change this one. Actually I need this one as well, because this ex_class.js is required, because we have extended the user class which is defined here in this ex_class.js file. So now we have added also these two files I have added here. So now if I run this in the browser, let's see what happened. It's showing show bundle contact number, this one. Okay, actually in the TypeScript class we have also showing one alert form here. So for now let me comment this line and then compile it again with Control Shift B. It's compiling, compilation done. Now if I run this one, now you can see it's showing employee name, this one, and designation software developer. That means it's working perfectly fine. Now let me discuss a little about access modifier. As I have told you that if we don't define any access modifier in the properties we have defined in the classes, that means these all properties are public property, and this property can be accessible from outside of this class as well. Okay, so suppose we have one property defined here in the user which we don't want to extend in the employee class. So how we can do that? Suppose we have one more properties here in this user class which is bank balance. Just type number. So if I now go here, so if I type this dot in the employee class, it's showing bank balance, but I don't want to expose this property here in the employee class. So how we can do this? Let me add private access modifier here, and if I save this file, now if I type this dot, now you can see there is no bank balance property. In this way we can prevent accessing the properties that we don't want to expose to other classes or outside of the class. Outside of the class means we cannot access from here. If we add this one dot, you can see there is no bank balance property, so we cannot access this property from outside of this class. Only this private property is only accessible from inside class. So we can type this dot bank balance. So you can see this is accessible here because this is in the same class. So private properties cannot be accessible with outside of this class. Okay, and there is one more important access modifier exists in the TypeScript, which is protected. Suppose we have a property, protected property, which is pro1 of type number. So this protected property can accessible within this class and in the inherited class. So here if I write this dot, then you can see pro1 is available here. That means protected access specifier is available on that class and of its child class, and it's not accessible here outside of this class. So if I try to access from here dot, there is no property with the name pro1 because it is protected. So in this way we can define protected property also. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. For step-by-step guidelines and source code of this article, visit www.netawesome.com. Thanks.